I'm happy to announce that Orion Spartan is brought to you in part by Jocko Fuel, a division of Origin USA, bringing industry back to America from its near demise. Do I sense a theme here? Use code Orion Spartan, one word, at checkout at JockoFuel.com for an exclusive discount for the products I use daily in my mission to reclaim and intensify my well-being, fitness, strength, and overall health. From creatine, protein, and other essential supplements for performance to cognitive enhancers and the only healthy energy drink on the market, I've been using these products for years and they've helped me to defy the odds and boost my overall mood and attitude. Again, use code Orion Spartan at checkout for an exclusive discount that will help you in our quest to get after it. I'm Orion, and this is Orion Spartan. The following is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Last time I told you what I recall of the first steps of my soiree with Fly. Now we'll go over my dance partners and see what moves they brought to the floor. The front of my car sent to the drink, but my head avoided being submerged by the seatbelt. Assuming I was off the board, the priceless contents of the boot, that's limey for trunk, were requisitioned and the hapless inhabitant left to pickle. Sometime later, a former schoolmate of mine noticed the car oddly considering going for a swim and called it into the LAPD.
Police arrived. The witness made a statement. Emergency services removed the corpse. It was successfully resuscitated. A helicopter showed up.
Now here's where serendipity comes on the scene. When deciding where to take the newly reanimated zombie, as it was shortly after one of the bloody spike weeks in nearby Daytona Beach's history, the local hospitals were at capacity, so the destination was set for nearly an hour's flight. However, Halifax, Daytona's premier brain injury destination, if you want to get all fancy about it, had just opened a bed, so that cut the flight time from about an hour to maybe 10 minutes. Not quite long enough for an in-flight meal, but oh well. The insidious miscreants who put this mess into motion were then allowed to profit from their misdeed by being hired to remove the car from where they put it. Being the only company in the area equipped to perform an aquatic extraction doesn't require a particularly high level of intellect, it would seem. My parents were then alerted to my plight after the address was obtained from running my license plate. My unfortunate father was alerted to my condition, who then told my mother, and they were swiftly escorted to 2006's most unforgettably popular spring break destination, the hospital ICU. All courtesy of yours truly. I know. After some uninteresting stuff they gloss over on house, the attendings gave my mom, a former intensive care unit nurse, the prognosis. After clearing up the confusion about the 30-year-old admitted after a motorcycle crash, yes, it was that bad. Once the medical staff got over marveling at the priapism I was admitted with, look it up if you can't remember those warning signs and early ads of Viagra and Cialis, which has been appropriately nicknamed Angel's Death. The doctors got to work performing multiple brain surgeries using a combination of X-Acto knives and a jigsaw to pop my top and remove parts of my brain with an ice cream scoop. They then installed the equivalent of a turbocharged engine's blow-off valve with a recirculating wastegate before it was mainstream. Because of the whole never walk thing, an IVC filter was installed to prevent blood clots from causing a heart attack, pulmonary embolism, or stroke. There's an undeniable irony here, but again, legal obligation mandates admission. At least I got something for it this time. Later, they had the audacity to call my pelvis unremarkable. Guess I saw a different doctor about the zombie boner. I'm still curious about who they brought in to deal with. Does that make me a necrophiliac? But enough dick jokes. Some of this is a little technical, aka boring, so I called in a little help. Meet my former assistant on loan from Raccoon City, a much more qualified arbiter of infobabble. Thank you, Orion, you're too kind. She was then informed you suffered a 1.3 centimeter intracerebral hemorrhage to the brain's frontal, temporal, and parietal lobes. Sonometer is more typically used to measure sound waves, but the reason I'm using it here is because the lower the number, the more intense the impact. So, on a range from 1 to 15, where 13 to 15 is mild, 9 to 12 moderate, and 3 to 8 is considered severe, the Subaru wasn't the only thing that got totaled that night. The injury was bilateral to the frontal and isolated to the left temporal and parietal lobes, as well as contra Q damage to the right occipital lobe, but that wasn't even addressed until over 18 years later. Guess it doesn't matter. Now here's where I get to shine. Damage to the frontal lobes should affect your ability to make executive decisions. So, planning, organization, action, etc. Great, a stereotypical lazy-ass sloper. I'll fit right in with the native Floridian beach bums. Oh, Destiny, you cad. Your language and motor function should also be affected, as well as social and emotional regulation also has changes to your personality. Great, so I'll fit right in with the resident homeless alcoholics too. At least won't have to go anywhere. It gets even better, as damage to the left temporal lobe can cause even more language issues, as well as difficulties with audio perception and processing, more emotional behavioral changes, and, don't forget, visual perception problems. Fantastic. So not only will I appear to be an inebriated crazy person who sees triangles and circles, I'll lose my ability to recognize people. Great. Anything else? The left hemisphere of the parietal lobe controls even more language, motor planning, sensory and spatial awareness, as well as your favorite, mathematics. So basically, I'll be Ken. For those unfamiliar with Stars Alpha Team's description of their fallen Bravo Team teammate, yes, a mere shadow of your former self. But the ER doctors gave a simpler prognosis, that you would never walk, talk, feed, or dress yourself ever again. Assuming I managed to survive that long way. Right, your Glasgow coma scale was 3, which indicates a deep coma, and is the lowest possible score of someone who isn't permanently gone. And with just a 20% survival rate, some quote-unquote experts believe there's no chance of survival, let alone recovery. Apparently, they never heard of mere hamster. I guess it's like they say, only those who risk going too far. Anyway, thank you. I've got it from here. Much to the audience's chagrin, I'm sure. Since the damaged areas control emotions, language, executive functions, personality, behavior, attention, concentration, and memory, the forecast ahead was even more grim than that of a Category 5 hurricane. For those of you unfamiliar with Florida's on-again, off-again abusive lover, that's pretty bad. #curb, rest in peace. Because I was, and still am, a belligerent corpse, I began to somehow move the right side of my body, spastically and without regard. So they decided to award that defiance by placing me in a coma for about a month. So that means, like many of you, I got to spend my 21st birthday in a coma! Just without the cake. During that time, my grief-stricken, yet somehow hopeful parents began investigating the available rehabilitation options in the brain injury capital of the United States. Forget sunshine. Florida's all about brain damage, as some of our more prominent residents regularly highlight. Meanwhile, I was visited by numerous friends, family members, and even my dual love interests. I just hope their paths never crossed. Or do I? Maybe that's what happened to the Phantom Erection. Whatever, I wasn't there. I mean, I was, I just don't... What do you expect me to say? A gentleman doesn't kiss and tell. It's just a box. Maybe my mom wrote about it in her book. Available on Amazon. Now for this next part, I'm sort of playing fast and loose with a specific order, as it doesn't really matter too much. So why not have a little fun? For entertainment purposes only, remember. remember? So one day, as my mother, hopelessly without hope, was by my bedside, a disgustingly grotesque social worker dripping with unsanitary medical waste and reeking of excrement approached her with a clipboard containing a form. She then said, with a detestably unpleasant southern drawl, "I have forms here to transfer this refuse to a nursing home once it becomes medically stable." My mother, shocked, looked directly at it, took the paperwork from its slimy grasp, and deposited it directly into the rubbish bin. Again, limey for trash can. I'm using artistic license here. I'm sure it was a lot less rewarding scene, but I'm the one telling it, so. I grumbled and attempted to speak, but my efforts were thwarted, as they'd performed a tracheotomy, due to me being intubated for over 2 weeks. Without my consent. Anyway, after my embarrassingly delighted mom made the appropriate calls and refused to pay its toll, the now defeated, unsightly troll went back to Gardens Bridge. This is how I picture it anyway. I looked at my mom's and attempted to speak but couldn't. So we had flipped the script. Now I, unwittingly, awaited the unknown. Not so fast. After all the frustrated aggravation of being mute, my father suggested we use a primitive method to communicate. Remembering what my assistant told you about my prognosticated deficits, my mom spoke out about my assumed aphasia. The inability to effectively use speech. But my dad, having a, shall we say, tenuous relationship with facts, insisted they make the attempt anyway. My mom, being aware of the futility for over 20 years, merely shrugged. Delighted, I eagerly used my right finger to spell out IHAVEALOTTOSAY. Still in awe, my mom desperately requested I slow down. I abided and repeated, "I have a lot to say." The first thing I asked was, where was my car? Forlorn and newly saddened, they proceeded to explain to me what the police had told them, that I had swerved to miss a deer and hit a tree. Unsure of anything, that still sounded fishy to me, as I have a storied history of punishing anything hapless enough to impede my path. I had the necklace of hooves, paws, and feathers to prove it, not to mention the disturbing image of headlights etched into my memory that I wouldn't be able to place for years. Regardless, I had more important things to focus on, like where to have my first drink in 2 weeks, which girlfriend to do that with, and more importantly, what to drive there in. Remember, kids, I wasn't sure what was going on, let alone why half of my body seemed to sleep. All I knew was that I didn't want to be stuck in some hospital room that smelled like... Wait, where was that awful smell coming from? Did the troll leave me a birthday gift? I frowned and looked at my mom. She also wore a frown and was looking toward my butt. "Orion, I think you need cleaned up," she said in a way that only mothers can. "To be cleaned up, Mom. To be," I quickly pointed out on the board. Shocked, she looked at me, and then tended to my unpleasantness. Meanwhile, I explained to her that it was okay because it was just a technicality. After a couple more days of confused, nonsensical happenstance, my mom came to me and slowly explained that since I was now medically stable, I would be released. She then laid out my options. "You can take me home where I can watch TV, they'll take me to see movies, friends can come by, or I can just lay around and play video games. Or they found the best rehabilitation program in the state. I can go there, do my best, and see what I can recover." If you're curious which I picked, the mere fact that you can understand my speaking suggests that you aren't too keen on reading clues or solving puzzles. I didn't need any time to deliberate. There was only one course ahead, so I managed to spell out some form of, "Get me the hell out of here." Next time we'll have a little fun. Turn tragedy into triumph. Out. Happy to announce that Orion Spartan is brought to you in part by Jocko Fuel, a division of Origin USA, bringing industry back to America from its near demise. Do I sense a theme here? Use code Orion Spartan, one word, at checkout at JockoFuel.com for an exclusive discount for the products I use daily in my mission to reclaim and intensify my well-being, fitness, strength, and overall health. From creatine, protein, and other essential supplements for performance to cognitive enhancers and the only healthy energy drink on the market, I've been using these products for years and they've helped me to defy the odds and boost my overall mood and attitude. Again, use code Orion Spartan at checkout for an exclusive discount that will help you in our quest to get after it.